Hi, my name is Noni Matikela. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So today I want us to talk about the office of Vivian Gronier, the magistrate that apparently took the statement or took the confession, the second confession from Undanzi. So I want us to talk about something that happened or that was said there by her and things that happened there. Then we'll take it from there. You tell me your thoughts about it. Now, what I could gather when Ntanze was talking with was giving his evidence in chief with Ramsipili is that this case actually it is not about a confession. This case it is about fear pretending to be procedure. It is a case where intimidation wore the uniform of legality. It is where silence was treated as confidence. It is where a magistrate told an accused person, don't be afraid, while every fact before her screamed that fear was already in the room. And this is the same magistrate that told the courtroom of Jadrata back in 2023 or early 2024, I'm not sure when she came, she told the courtroom of Jadrata that actually, when it comes to I choose number 2, I decided to record the confession. Why were you doing that knowing very well it's illegal to do that without telling the person that you are recording? She says, because I feared for my life. I had my fears. Yet she comes and says in the court, Tundanzi, don't be afraid. Does that even make sense? And then let's leave that. There is a moment that should have stopped everything, but it didn't. And tell me if Gronier is also part of the problem or the cabal or the cabal problem. I don't know. Let us begin with at the very moment this confession, the so-called confession, was taken. The accused is brought in by heavily armed men, heavily armed police officers, not just men, not ordinary escort, not minimal presence, but armed contingent, so imposing that even the magistrate notices. She notices weapons, the numbers, the posture, the refusal by officers to identify themselves. She is the one that told the court that. And she does something extraordinary also. She records the interaction, the so-called interaction between her and Dancy, not openly, not on the record, but quietly because she feared, because she herself was uncomfortable. Yet in the same breath, she tells the accused, do not be afraid. Aibo. Aibo, guys. How does one reassure another not to fear while secretly recording because one is afraid herself? How did she do that? That is not reassurance. That is contradiction. And in law, contradiction is poison. And then also, we were told about confidence. In an intimidating room, you can't tell me confidence in an intimidating room is not is confidence. That's not confidence. We are told later the accused appeared confident by the same magistrate, Gronier. But confidence cannot exist in a vacuum. Confidence must be measured against the environment. So let us check out or examine that environment honestly. Armed police surrounding the accused, police refusing to identify themselves, police fleeing when asked for job cards, a magistrate uneasy enough to record secretly, a detainee under prolonged detention, a detainee who says he fears his co-accused. That is not a neutral space. That is not a free space. This is a cohesive atmosphere altogether. But the law is clear. What appears voluntarily in a cohesive environment is not voluntarily at all. Silence under intimidation is not consent. Compliance under fear is not confidence. Calmness under threat is not freedom. It is survival. Now, what happened next is what surprises me, is that the duty of the magistrate could not delegate. She was supposed to delegate. A magistrate is not a recording device, right? A magistrate is a constitutional gatekeeper. Her duty is not passive. It is active, inquisitorial, and protective. When police refuse to identify themselves, she must stop proceedings. When the environment is intimidating, she must stop proceedings. When the accused arrived under irregular detention, she must stop proceedings. But did she? But in this situation, nothing is stopped. Instead, the process continues, the environment is accepted, the police conduct is normalized. This was procedural surrender. This was not neutrality, it was procedural surrender. Also, let us now confront the most disturbing part. The accused states he was arrested on the 16th. He never went to court. He had not bathed. He was detained during COVID, the lockdown. He was exposed to health risk. He was, his legal or his so-called legal representative was present. And at that moment, the so-called confession process should have collapsed immediately. It should have collapsed. A magistrate hearing this should have asked, why was this person not taken to court? It's the 24th today. What's going on? Why was detention extended unlawfully? Why were basic human dignities denied? Why is the lawyer silent? Why is this person still before me? But none of that happened under Cronje. Instead, the confession proceeds as if these admissions are irrelevant. They are not irrelevant. They are constitutional alarms. So, Cronje tells the court that Ntanzi said he is afraid of his co-accused. We are told that the accused said his co-accused are dangerous. He fears retaliation. Fingers were pointed at him. Now listen carefully to this. The moment an accused expresses fear of co-accused, the magistrate's duty escalates. She must inquire about protection, ensure separation, trigger safety mechanisms, prevent future harm. What happened instead? Nothing. She did absolutely nothing. No protection plan, no witness safeguarding, no special arrangements. The accused, Bongani Ntanzi, was returned to the same system, the same people, the same risk. If the confession was genuine, then the state failed to protect him. If the confession was coerced, then the state used him and discarded him. Either way, justice was not done. Now we arrive at the silent elephant in the room, the recording. A magistrate knows a private recording is not admissible. It cannot supplement the recording. It contaminates evidentiary integrity. So why record it? Why keep it also? Why allow the state access to it? And most importantly, who else knew about it? This is not the act of an ordinary citizen. This is the act of a trained judicial officer, which raises the most dangerous question of all. Was the recording for protection or for leverage? What was going on? And if it was for protection, protection from who? From who? When the confession is admitted, it is as if none of these warning signs mattered. Intimidation was ignored, detention violations are minimized, police misconduct is excused, fear is rebranded as confidence. And that is why this ruling is troubling. Judge Ratta allowing the confessions to come in, that ruling is very troubling. Because if these confessions are admissible, there is no confession is ever unsafe. It means armed intimidation is acceptable. Procedural violations are forgivable. Magistrates need to intervene. Rights exist only on paper. That is not law, that is theater. And we have one question that ends everything. So let us end where the law demands we end. How does a court admit a confession where the environment is intimidating, police refuse identification, detention is unlawfully, health and dignity are violated, the magistrate herself is uneasy, the accused is left unprotected afterward, there is only one honest answer. It should not have been admitted. This case is not about hindsight. It is about missed moments where the law required courage. The law was present. The warnings were visible. The power to stop it existed, but no one stopped it. And when the court failed to stop injustice in this small room, in his courtroom, they invite injustice into much bigger or larger ones. This is why this matters. And that's why this confession matters. And that is why this court must confront not what is said, but how it was extracted. That is where Judge Ratta needs to check. He must not just do a ruling. We need to check everything. Anyway, what are your thoughts when it comes to Cronje and everything that happened there? Do you think Cronje was part of the cabal? Do you think Cronje was also scared for whatever reason? What do you think is happening there? Let's talk in the comment section. I want to hear your views. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.